First off, I don't know why anybody would put an ERP database on the internet. Let me just say that right now. But if you have to, and if you've written it in Flash, and if you've included the connection string, including the username and password in the Flash file, they should just bar you from technology forever. This one actually was written by a US-based development company. I can't even blame this one on offshoring. That was written by people that should know better. Anyway, so we're going to do some Flash fun, but I can save that for the end and when the cameras are off. So let's have some fun with Web 2.0. Anybody still use MapQuest around here? One person admits to it. So there's this feature that was available a couple years ago, and if you go down at xss.org, I'm pretty sure this has been around for at least 4 years. So you could find the lowest gas prices that you put in your address. Right, a couple years ago when gas prices spiked, people were all about finding cheap gas. So they could go to this site, punch in their address, and it would tell them where all the cheapest gas around them is. Fair enough. And then some developers said, and so, it caught my attention. And clearly some developers weren't thinking, and they figured zip code. What's the big deal, right? It's just a zip code field. If I don't validate it, who cares? It's a bunch of numbers. Anybody who's developers think like this? It's okay, they're not in here. So, my favorite, since I have a dummy Google account that's always logged in because it's fun, drop in a quick little iframe. Everybody know what that does? Brings Google into a iframe and then brings up the cookie that I'm using. But these guys were smart. These developers were smart. They didn't allow script tags and the word they didn't allow script tags and a couple other things in there. No special characters. You guys have heard that, right? But we don't allow special characters. Okay, how about the percent sign? So a little bit of URL encoding, super hacker ninjutsu here. Okay, real tough, great hack. And you stick it into there, and something like this happens. And there is the cookie from my logged in Google account. And some random JavaScript crap that dies along the way. So, once again, enter my friend Mike, who figured out how to take something very similar to this and turn it into completely owning your Google account. Which is another reason why you should probably get off Google sometime soon. So, out of all that silliness, right, there's a message to this. What did we just learn? Well, Web 2.0, this idea of Web 2.0 isn't something magical. It's not something new and exciting. It's not something that, we have to all now go learn a new language. It's the same old bugs. Get it? Bugs? Insert no. I need one of those laugh things above so you guys know when to laugh at my jokes. And yes, all the old bugs are back. And the reason for that is we just don't think they can be exploited in these cool new technologies. I mean, it's Flash. You can't decompile that. So there's some fun new ways to fail, otherwise known as some bad news. One of them is standards. Standards are really, really cool, right? Standards teach us ways to do things so that everybody can fail the exact same way repeatedly. Anybody read the HTML v5 standard? Raise your hand proudly. Okay, no liars in the room? Great. Click checking was an abuse of standards. It was actually not a hack. Okay, it was a legal use of HTML. Or abuse of HTML. So it's not a hack. Therefore, we can't actually patch it. We can hack the browser to prevent it from doing that, but all that means is somebody's going to figure out a slight tweak to that, and it'll look different, and it'll be exploitable again. HTML v5 now has this local database specification. Who uses Gmail? Hands proudly. Yes, that's right. One of us. Anybody use Gmail's offline feature? Nobody? Oh, enable that sometime. You will get a SQLite database on your machine that you can that then saves all your email to in a little database, which is pretty cool. And then you can get like the freeware SQL client to view databases, and you can read your email that way, or I can read your email that way. HTML v5 now has something called an offline data specification. Isn't that cool? Web apps that don't need the web. That's really cool. So remember earlier I said logic was on the client? Client doesn't even have to talk to the server anymore. Now it's completely on the client. Think about it this way. Anybody use one of them newfangled automated teller machines? ATMs? Okay, it was a joke. Wow, rough crowd. Look, I have stickers. Laugh. So if you think about the concept of an ATM, right? An ATM is a pain in the butt to break into and steal the money from. Why? One, it's bolted into the side of a brick building that has cameras, lights, and usually a guy with a gun. And if you show up there with a crowbar and a hammer, even at 2 a.m., eventually somebody's going to notice, probably before you get into the money deposit, right? What if they gave you a black box about yay big that you could take home with you that could dispense money just like it could, like an ATM, right? But you couldn't get all the money. You'd have to swipe your card. It would call home. What if they made this offline feature that it would call home once a week? Anybody see any problems with this already? Because I don't know about you guys, but I take it to my basement, and I would get inside that piggy bank. It would never call home again. And I'd go get another one because that one broke. Well, that's what we're building. That's the kind of web apps that we're building lately. And the other really scary thing about this is HTML, the way the v5 standard is built. I mean, you can literally go pull it up. When you start opening the page, the scroll bar gets so small that at one point it stops shrinking and actually disappears. I'm just kidding. It stops shrinking. It gets so small. And if you try to scroll down, I mean, you like holding down the scroll bar button, just put something on your mouse and go to lunch. It's several hundred pages. Look, HTML v1 spec was tough for developers to figure out. And it's 2010. Several hundred pages is not going to get us anywhere closer to better security. And I pulled this off w3.org because I thought it was pretty cool. So the HTML5 provides specifications to solutions for the idea of offline web applications because, I mean, it's clearly a problem that if I'm on Gmail and my internet connectivity goes away, I should still be able to read my Gmail because it's a web app. So HTML5 provides two solutions: a SQL-based database API for storing data locally, because that's an epically awesome idea, and an offline application HTTP cache, where it stuffs the logic, which you then can manipulate at will to make it do whatever you want. Anybody have a Salesforce in your company? Just maybe a few people. Do they use any of them connect to a web-based CRM tool like Siebel or any of those kinds of tools where they manage their customer contacts and stuff? Okay. The organization I used to work for had this requirement that they needed to get to that data offline. This was before HTML v5. So what they would do is they would simply copy it to a local flat file, and the application would check to see if it had an internet connection. If it did not, it would fire up a local web server, and it would read that local flat file. I mean, how many ways to fail are there? That's 3. And I'm not even thinking anymore. Let's see, we have a local web server, we have a local unencrypted, even if it's encrypted, who cares? It's local, right? It's not like I can't bang on it for 20 hours. Anyway, so what could possibly go wrong? I can't see it. I mean, we think about this, and the ATM example. Would you rather be hacking at the ATM bolted into the side of a building, or presumably somebody with a badge and a gun and a squad car is going to ask you, "Son, what are you doing?" Or would you like to bring it home? I think it's just easier to take it home with you.